Fox News political analyst Juan Williams and former Florida Congressman, Fox News contributor Alan West. Great to have you in studio, by the way.
It's great to be here.
Good to see you. Juan, thank you for being here. Look, I've been explaining this to as many people that are actually aware of what's going on the ground, that there, especially 30 months ago, there was a more secular, pro-American, more moderate rebel forces like the Free Syrian Army.
Yes.
Their forces have dwindled, and there's been a flooding of the zone by al-Qaeda-linked terrorists.
Yeah.
So
you're absolutely right, Sean. What has happened, you had the Free Syrian Army, which were mainly defectors from the Syrian army and also from the Syrian regime. They're led right now by Colonel Riyadh, and they have not gotten the support that's necessary. And there was a window of opportunity to really shift the balance, if you want to call it that, in this civil war. But what has happened is now you had Turkey come in, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the Muslim Brotherhood, and they have backed what is called the Supreme Military Council, and that is much more Islamist. Then you have groups like the Al-Nusra Front. The Al-Qaeda in Iraq has renamed itself the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant, and you have all of these other splinter groups under the Supreme Military Council led by General Idris. So,
but even some of the comments of some of those, quote, more moderates are even anti-Israel.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And so, you know, when you talk about you're going to go in and degrade the capability of Assad and upgrade the capability of the opposition, well, which opposition? You have to be very careful of that.
You know, there's 2 points, Juan, that I've been making that we've got to be very, very aware of. Number one, the threat, which I think is real, clear, present danger, credible, and that is that Syria and Iran will, in fact, retaliate against Israel. And the second one is we ultimately could help al-Qaeda-linked rebels in their battle against Assad, and that would not be, either scenario is not good for us or them, for Israel.
That's exactly right. I mean, that's why I have opposed the intervention until this weekend, when I sort of switched sides, because I got the picture, and it's very clear that this is a proxy war with Iran, and that the Iranians, not only supporting Assad, but supporting some of the very elements, you know, Hezbollah and others that have been anti-Israel, and then, of course, supporting people like the Islamist Front that Colonel West was just talking about, that are stretching out now from areas of Iraq, Anbar province, all the way across into Syria to try to establish some kind of Islamic republic.
Let me ask you then, because all of the instability, a lot of the instability in the Middle East, there has been a proxy war, and it all goes back to Iran. In my view, with their threats to wipe Israel off the map, their ideology is they are the modern-day Nazis. They want a modern-day Holocaust. Right. So if you agree with me that they are the proxy here, wouldn't it make sense that if we really wanted to have an impact, rather than lob a few cruise missiles in to Syria, which I don't think would be very effective based on days, not weeks, and no boots on the ground, why don't we do what we should do, and that's take out Iran's nuclear sites?
Well, that's a provocative act against someone who has not attacked us, not attacked any of our allies, or threatened our national interests, Sean.
They're fighting a proxy war by your own words.
So now you come to it, which is my thinking, which is that's where the front is in this effort. And if we fail to respond in terms of the use of these biological weapons, we are sending a signal then to Iran, oh, you know what, you can do what you want with biological weapons and advance that thought. I think nuclear weapons.
With all due respect,
we've got to stop them right now.
All right, let me go to Colonel West. Colonel, if people are outraged, there was nearly 100,000 killed without chemical weapons. Now it's 1,400. There could have potentially, if you take the sick, twisted ideology of Iran and you marry it to a nuclear weapon, I have zero doubt they'd use it. So that seems to me to be the bigger issue that we really need to focus on.
Well, that's the whole point. I mean, the strategic vision is what we need to have, and the mutually assured destruction theory that we
doesn't apply to them.
It does not apply to them.
72 virgins.
Absolutely, and that's what they're looking for. You see, my concern is when you look at what happened with Libya, no one considered the unintended consequences there. So now we have radical Islamists all over that country. We have shifted the balance there. We have Islamists being trained by Al-Qaeda and Muslim Brotherhood to go to Syria to fight, and we we have to be very careful about stepping into Syria and tipping that balance as well. So if this is a proxy war, and understand, before there was Al-Qaeda, there was Hezbollah, who killed 238 Marines in Beirut. They're supported by Iran. Iran is really the center, the nerve center, and sometimes you have to go after the head. And I think that if you want to do the right thing strategically, you maybe want to focus against Iran so that you don't give them the initiative.
Isn't this a pinprick? I mean, based on what the administration is saying, days, not weeks, no boots on the ground, no regime change, those are their words. This sounds to me like it's just, okay, I drew a red line, now I've got to back it up.
Well, let me, being an artillery officer, let me explain something. Chemical weapons can be fired from artillery tubes, mortar tubes, from, rocket launch platforms. Those can be easily hidden. Those can be moved. A cruise missile is not going to do anything there. So you're not really degrading this capability. And as a matter of fact, I could take a chemical weapons munition and I could turn it into an IED and, bury it into the ground. So when we're talking about degrading his capability, what are we really looking at? He can still come back and use those capabilities, but even worse, who's to say that the rebel forces will not move against those chemical munition stockpiles and get them? Because you can't blow up a chemical munition stockpile. You just cannot.
All right.
No, that's a good point, but I must say that you can degrade the overall command and control structure inside of Syria. You can attack him in such a way that he feels it, and that even his Air Force colonel, his Air Force, if they take a couple of hits, then their ability to control the skies over Syria is less, and then the rebels have a better chance. And from the administration point of view,
the rebels
you can then
might be Al-Qaeda related, though, Juan. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Well, that's the. I agree with you on that point, Sean, but there are bigger American vital interests at stakes, and we can't afford to look like punks just standing on the sidelines.
If we want to look tough, take out Iran's nukes, which we're going to have to do sooner or later, because if they get nukes...
You're looking at big-time World War III action, to use your language.
I'm looking at preventing mass death and a Holocaust in our lifetime. That's what I really worry about.
We will probably start a World War III if we go in...
Just with cruise missiles.
Absolutely.
All right.
No, I don't see
guys,
that. Okay.
We're going to do it right. And all the symbolic pinprick stuff is just silly to me.